Welcome everyone. Today we're talking about super scientist Chien-Shiung Wu. What a cool name. Chinese physicist, also known as the first lady of physics back in the day. We're going to talk about this wonderful physicist who you may or may not know about. We're going to discuss about her amazing work in physics. Why was she the first lady of physics? First off, she was born in 1912, a long time ago. Actually, she was born about a month before the Titanic sank, which is kind of crazy. Not the movie, not the James Cameron movie, but a month before the Titanic actually sank, all the way back in 1912. She was the first person to actually win the Wolf Prize in physics in 1978. She should have won the Nobel Prize for her work with parity. She kind of disproved the notion of parity in physics. We'll talk about that in a little bit. A couple other Chinese physicists actually won the prize, but she should have won it, but it's okay. She got the Wolf Prize, which is way cooler anyway, so Jack London would be proud, so hey, how about that? She also did some cool, so her main things were she did parity, and she did some research on, if you can guess, that's correct everyone, I knew you knew it at home, Beta Decay. So we're going to discuss her two primary works on parity and beta decay. We'll discuss here shortly. Some more background on her is she was Chinese, as I mentioned. She went to a couple different universities. She actually went to a women's university to start out with. So she was able to get into highly prestigious universities in China. One of them being Nanjing University, and she received a degree in physics in 1934. Yay, back in the day. So pretty cool there. She's one of the few female physicists in China at that time, so pretty cool. And so she moves over to California. She goes to UC Berkeley, which you may have heard of. Very progressive, very good towards, much better towards women, those who wanted to study higher education. And she gets a PhD in physics. I'll write this down. She earns her PhD in physics in 1936 because why not? Because she's brilliant, she's great at math, she's great at science, she loves research. Here we go. So she did a lot of research on beta decay. She's primarily known for that. She did some in the 1930s. That's where she got her PhD in beta decay. She did a lot of research on it. She confirmed Mr. Enrico Fermi's, Mr. Brilliant Man himself, and confirmed Fermi's OG theory on beta decay. Many people had come up with ideas on radiation. Beta decay is a type of radiation. And we're really talking about the atomic nucleus of atoms. There's three different kinds of decay. There's alpha decay, beta decay, and gamma decay. We're talking beta decay. And this is what Miss Wu is mostly known for. Anyway, she confirmed that what happens with beta decay is that you can have beta minus decay and beta plus decay. Well, what does that mean? Well, in beta minus decay, what we have going on here is a neutron decays into a proton. So what happens is a nucleus, basically when you think about decay, a nucleus is unstable. It has to do with the weak nuclear force. There's the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force. So one thing that Chien actually discovered was that beta decay has to do more with the weak nuclear force, and what happens is, for whatever reason, usually it's with too many neutrons, but the nucleus of the atom gets unstable. It doesn't want to stay together. It's like, there's too many components, too many parts, and it's like, it's all weird, and it's like, you can almost think of like the gravity, the electromagnetic forces, the strong and the weak, both these forces that keep it together. Well, what happens is it doesn't want to stay together anymore, and that's radiation, that's decay. Beta decay is in the case where a neutron basically will become a proton, and when it does so, it releases a bunch of energy, and some of those particles are like highly charged electrons. Sometimes they're known as positrons. Don't worry about all that. Just know that in beta minus decay, a neutron will become a proton, and it shoots out a beta particle. It's pretty crazy. So that's one. And then we got beta plus decay, beta plus, beta minus. Kind of simple, kind of crazy. So with beta plus decay, the opposite happens. A proton becomes a neutron, and vice versa. So when this does this, this is highly radioactive, not good to hang around with. You want to have highly controlled, highly experimental areas where you're doing this in a laboratory setting, so it's very safe. But in beta plus we have, think of it plus, so I like to think of it as the P plus. I like to think the proton becoming a neutron, and in minus, it's the opposite, but I just like to think of that P, so it starts with the proton there, P and P, so plus becoming the neutron, and neutron becoming the proton in beta minus. Now when they do so, they emit different particles. So that gives you a little bit of a background. Don't worry too much about the details. I really want you guys to lock in the idea that beta, there's two different kinds of decay. Decay is really when the atomic nucleus of an element is unstable and it has to release something. And when it does so, it changes. And it literally changes the actual element. In some cases, see this neutron becomes a proton. So literally it gains a proton. And so it becomes a new element. It changes elements. Because these, let's say lithium becomes, I don't know, whatever. Carbon is a common one. Cobalt is another one we'll see here with her experiments in Parity. But what happens is it literally changes the element of what it is because it has to in order to survive, in order to create a state of stability. Same thing over here with the beta plus decay, in which the proton becomes a neutron. It releases positrons and neutrinos, lots of energy, very highly radioactive, very dangerous often, especially with the higher elements with plutonium and uranium. That's where the bombs come in play. That's Chien's base, awesome, cool research, pretty amazing, pretty cool stuff. Okay, but we also get to the 1950s here. A couple other Chinese theoretical physicists had an idea on parity. Now, it's not to be confused with parody if you think something like Mel Brooks or any other parody people out there. It is not that kind of parody, not a comedy parody, although it could be. We're talking parody. It's a little different. Kind of funny, but a little different. Parity, think of left and right. So in physics, I like to think of it very simple. Let's break this down. They're talking these theoretical Chinese physicists who they end up winning the Nobel Prize and steal it from Chien for some reason, but that's another story. Anyway, they had an idea, they had a big brain idea. They're like, well, if this atom is left-handed, if you make it right-handed, would the fundamental physics change or not? They said they think it might change. That was their prediction. It was like, well, we think this would actually change. The fundamental atomic physics would actually change if you swapped left and right. So if you take the left side of the atom and you actually make it the right side of the atom, would the physics change? Would what happens at that level, whether it be through radiation, whether it be through decay, whether it be through bonds, whether it be through reactions with other elements, would how they react differ if you made one that is left-handed actually right-handed and you swapped them? It's kind of a way of thinking about it. Well, turns out that Chien proved that parity is in fact violated. She confirmed these guys' idea, like, hey, look at that, what do you know, lo and behold, if it's swapped left and right at the atomic level, the basic physics change. The element, what it does at the atomic level actually changes a little bit. It doesn't act the same if you swap left and right, which is pretty weird. So it's basically at the atomic level, this is another big hint that something at the quantum, at the atomic level, something is very, very different from what we expect. For instance, I am right-handed. If I was left-handed, would my life be completely different? Probably not much different. But at the atomic level, my life would be completely different. I'd be an engineer somewhere, I'd be an astronaut or something, I'd be a mailman, and my life would be completely radically different if I was just left-handed. That's what atomic physics says. But in our reality, that's not the case. I'm just left-handed. I'd be the same person, have the same life, but at the atomic level, that completely shifts. Very weird. She proved this theory with an experiment, they call it the Wu experiment, but she used this thing called cobalt-60, which is a crazy, weird isotope and not like a cool laser rifle, although it sounds like a cool laser rifle. One of the coolest words in the English language, cobalt, but an actual element, but she used an isotope, cobalt-60. She did beta decay with cobalt-60. She wanted to see if these guys were correct. So this is the 1950s. She did a bunch of research on cobalt-60. This is in the 1950s. I don't know the exact year. But in the 50s here, Miss Chien did a bunch of research with cobalt-60. She proved that, in fact, parity is violated at the atomic level when you swap left and right. When you make cobalt left-handed, all of a sudden, different things, weirdo things happen that are beyond our understanding. And it's like, whoa, this element's acting very different. And pretty crazy stuff. So she actually proved that with the Wu experiment. You can look at more details on that. It's just an amazing experiment that she actually was able to prove that this very fundamental thing, the symmetry, actually completely changes how the element interacts, how at the atomic level it completely shifts what's going on. Pretty crazy. Anyway, that's our girl Chien-Shiung Wu, amazing Chinese lady, first lady of physics. She's brilliant, she's smart, she worked with clocks, she did a bunch of research on beta decay, she used beta decay with cobalt-60 to prove that parity is violated, a weirdo concept that when you swap left and right, things change on a fundamental level at the quantum level. That is all for our Super Scientist video today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please sub and like the channel. Appreciate you guys. See you next time.